Hi, I'm Kirby Allison. I'm thrilled to be back in Paris at the stores of Lavabre Cadet. Unbeknownst to many, just right around the corner from the Place Vendôme, where we were just yesterday. Recently, Camille Fournier acquired Lavabre Cadet, one of France's most renowned bespoke glove makers. And unbeknownst to many, in Camille Fournier's boutique on the Rue Saint-Honoré is a small section dedicated to the most beautiful and highest-end luxurious bespoke gloves being made anywhere in the world today. I'm here today with Jean-Baptiste Rousseau of Lavabre Cadet. You've been here with the firm for several years now.
Yes.
So thanks for spending some time with us. Last time I was here in Paris, I had one of the fittings for a bespoke pair of, it was the one-piece peccary gloves,
Exactly.
which turned out absolutely fantastic. So thank you, it's great to be back. So help us understand a little bit the history of Lavabre Cadet. I know that you've been with the firm for quite some time now.
Yes. So I'm in charge of the atelier of Lavabre Cadet and its development for a bit more than 3 years. So Lavabre Cadet is a bespoke and haute couture glove atelier based in Millau, which is the capital of gloves in France. And it's an atelier that has been run since 1946. And it's a very special atelier because it's one of the few atelier that is specialized in haute couture and bespoke, where other makers are used to be more specialized in military or sports equipment. Mm-hmm. So the activity hasn't changed since then, and so we have been developing again worldwide since a few years now.
Well, there's no question. I mean, the quality of gloves is really several standard deviations above kind of the next best thing that you can find. And I know that's really a big and important part of kind of the heritage of Lavabre Cadet is, again, this commitment to the craftsmanship and the artisanship of the gloves. So can you speak to just a little bit kind of about that and kind of how that's important to kind of the brand?
Yes. So Lavabre Cadet has always been an atelier at the service of haute couture. So really famous creator like Christian Dior, Coco Chanel, I mean everybody, Jean-Paul Gaultier. I cannot tell everybody, but everybody made the road of the path of Lavabre Cadet. So what we did from the start is bring to life the creations of those fashion creators. So with all this know-how, what we offer now is we are still continuing to work with haute couture, cinema, and theaters, and but we are also offering the same know-how and same services to particular clients through ready-to-wear, made-to-order, or bespoke, of course.
I mean, so is there any particular kind of historical context for why Millau was known for glove making?
Yes. So actually, it all started with some very small family businesses around those different activities, such as tanneries, cheese making, and also gloves maker and leather goods maker. Mm-hmm. And they are all sharing a different aspect of the same product. Mm-hmm. And so they used to team up and building a reputation of Millau that first was known in France and then worldwide.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I guess it makes complete sense because, most traditionally lambskin was one of the finest materials that you would see gloves made out of.
Yes.
And it makes sense that you have cheese making, glove making, kind of all kind of in and around the same area because they're sharing, the same kind of raw materials.
Exactly, and nothing is wasted. So this is also something very important for this area, is trying to integrate a whole production, but under different aspects.
Yeah, I mean, so much of kind of what you're doing in the atelier is a function of the craftsmanship. Mm-hmm. So talk to me a little bit about the team and kind of how, because you're saying, I mean, some of these people that have been making gloves have been doing it for 50 years. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, that's one of the things that has allowed Lavabre Cadet to maintain this quality standard and really kind of hold on to a lot of these historic traditional artisanal techniques is because of the people.
It's really a teamwork, making a pair of gloves, because you have first to understand really what the clients really want. And after that, taking all the measurements and all the information possible. And part of my job is to translate it technically to the team. So what we do is we talk with the cutter, and the cutter will talk also with the sewer. So everybody is on the same page. So we can do, it's like an orchestra. So it's a discussion between me, the atelier, and the client. I would say I'm in between the client and the atelier, and everybody has to do his job, and at the end it's becoming a very beautiful work.
And it's quite a small team. I mean, it's what, 12 to 15?
Oh, it's even less. It's even less. We are we are 4 people in Millau, and I am between Paris and Millau.
Wow, so it's just a workshop of 4 people that are doing all these gloves.
Exactly, it's a true atelier.
Wow.
It's not a manufacturer, it's an atelier.
That's incredible. So talk us through just some of the elements of kind of quality of a really fine glove, and how Lavabre Cadet really kind of embellishes kind of those elements of craftsmanship.
Yes, so from the start, we never change the pattern of our models. So we try to keep it very sleek cut. So because in recent years some other glove makers used to change the pattern to fit everybody. So we kept with a quite thin fitting, and also something very important for us is the way of cutting the gloves, which is very particular, because gloves are made from leather and it does change, it moves a lot. So to avoid the fact of gloves that goes quickly out of fit, we stretch the leather, we cut it a particular way. So it's called table cutting or French cutting, and so it allows us to have a durable gloves that will not change of shape with the time. So this is something you don't see right away, but that you will see through the time.
Yeah, as the glove kind of lives and kind of develops patina,
exactly,
you're not going to see it shrink or deform.
Exactly.
And it really is going to hold its shape better.
Exactly. And also something important besides the cutting is the way of building in the lining. So what we do is we do a little bit like the tailors. We hand stitch the linings into the gloves. So it allows us to change eventually the lining if there is a problem, and also it avoids the wearer of the pair of gloves to not have some glue at the tip of its fingers, because we want each pair to be fully canvassed, like a good bespoke suit.
So a traditional glove, maybe of not such high quality, would have the lining basically glued in, is what you're saying.
Exactly. So to come back to the difference between, to the highlights of a Lavabre Cadet pair of gloves, is the selection of the material, because we cannot have corrected or coated skins, because when we pull the leather, if it was coated or corrected, then the coating will burst during the process.
Okay.
So it's something very important, and it gives such a smooth feeling that you can see with every material.
So the stretching of the material is, I guess, really in some ways very similar to the way bespoke shirting is prepared with pre-shrinking.
Exactly. It's actually the cutting in glove making is very important, because it involves a lot of steps. But first, the sourcing of the material, the selection, and the pattern placement on the skin is very important to avoid any defects.
So the material, just the preparation of the skins, I mean, they're natural skins of the finest quality.
Exactly.
But you're saying that you are stretching the material in the same way that, say bespoke shirting would be, washed in order to shrink it prior to being sewn.
Exactly. So actually the cutting process is very long and very important in glove making. So besides the selection of the leathers and the pattern placement, the work on the leather by stretching it and cut it again and stretching it back is very important.
So that's really incredible. I mean, it's a great example how, in so many elements of bespoke, there are some of these, quality characteristics that really create, the difference between the finest glove or the finest shirts or the finest bespoke suiting, that really are totally absent to the client. I mean, you would never know that so much work and preparation goes into preparing the leather even to be cut, because as a client, you just receive the finished glove, and yes, it wears beautifully and perfectly and only gets better over the next, decade or two. But you would never I never would think that, that so much of that is by virtue of just the preparation of the material itself.
Exactly. It's actually gloves are very subtle but very technical products. So what we try to do is making no concession from the start to the finish of the pair. So by selecting the best leathers possible, so best quality from the best suppliers. They are all based in Europe, by the way. So it's very important for us. After the cutting and the preparation of the leather, which is very time consuming, the quality of our patterns that are very sleek and very beautiful to the hand. Also some details, of course, the fact that we try to have one pieces of gloves, you see here, instead of having, for example, here, it's two different parts of the gloves.
Yeah, and one of the things I think we're going to talk about later is, you are one of the few makers that can do a one-piece peccary pattern.
Exactly.
And you actually brought one of the peccary skins to kind of help illustrate just how difficult that actually is.
Exactly.
So I saw a pair of gloves of a friend of mine from another very prestigious kind of Parisian maker that was a one-piece peccary. And then, I went into the store and I was, kind of looking around, and the sales associate was sharing with me that even today, they're no longer able to do one-piece peccary gloves because it's so difficult to source skins large enough in order to enable the pattern to be cut out of a single piece of the fabric.
Exactly. In fact, every skin is different, so it's impossible to make two exactly same pairs of gloves, even for one customer. So, of course, the sourcing is very important. So, yes, as a haute couture glove atelier, we have to do what people cannot do anymore. What we used to say for Lavabre Cadet is, if we cannot do it, then no glove maker can do it.
So what are the different types of constructions that one can choose with their gloves?
So you have three possibilities. The first one is the hand stitching construction. So as you see, it's an outside stitching done by hand. So you see it's very beautiful, very close stitches like this. So we use one craftsman to do the whole stitching, hand and thumb together, because we want to keep the same signature of stitching between, the thumb and the hand.
Yeah, and so what you're saying is that, even different craftsmen have different styles of stitching?
Exactly. Everyone has a different style, type of writing or stitching. So this is very important for us to keep it balanced and clean as possible. We have also two other options that are machine stitch. The first one is the saddle stitching, which is also an outside stitching, but more clean, a little bit more formal, which is a good balance between either hand stitching or inside stitching. And then you have the inside stitching construction, which is something a bit more formal, maybe a bit more elegant, more feminine. Yes, so those are the three possibilities. And after that, you can also choose the different types of finishing for the glove edges. So you can have it hand stitched like this. So you see it's a reminder of the hand stitch details that are here on the hand. You can also have invisible stitching like this. So it's also hand stitch, but you don't see it from the outside. But when you turn it like this, you will see the small details.
Yeah, wow, that's incredibly fine stitching. I can hardly even see it.
Exactly.
So this is, this is quite a rare technique.
Yes, it's very rare, and especially at this level of making. So we try to put everything at the same level of quality. So the cutting and the stitching should be at the same level. And finally, last possibility for glove edge would be the piping like this, and also with the hand stitching finishing.
So the piping allows a different material to be used.
Exactly.
And certainly has a different aesthetic. But then you still hand stitch the edge kind of in the same way that a suit would be pick stitched?
Exactly.
That's incredible. Now this glove has another, another quite rare, feature, which is the Quark, which is a small kind of triangular piece of pattern that goes in between the fingers. Talk a little bit about that and kind of what the, what the function is.
So, as you will see on our gloves, especially on the hand-stitched gloves, you will see this small quark, so between the fingers, and the purpose of such a detail is all about comfort, but of course it's really time-consuming to have such beautiful details between the fingers. So it's something that used to be, as you said, quite traditional, but because we make no concession, we try to make it always for hand-stitched gloves, but then it's also a matter of construction.
And the point is it just allows the glove to kind of better sit or seat on the hand.
Yes.
Right? And kind of spread the fingers.
Yes, it's all about comfort and room, and also our hands are a bit like that, so we try to be as close as possible to the hand.
The old adage that, something should fit like a pair of gloves. I mean, I have a pair of gloves that you guys did for me, and I believe it was even part of our seasonal collection where we put corks in the gloves. And it was really incredible how, they just fit and then almost disappeared on the hand. I mean, whenever you would use your hand, you didn't feel it pulling, at the finger joints.
Yes, so what we try to do is prepare the glove as much as possible, but the last step of the fitting is done by the client itself. So we prepare the leather and the pair of gloves to fit as close as possible, but then the client, by wearing it and breaking in the pair, will give this particular fit that is personal to each pair of gloves.
It's really quite incredible. I mean, something, as, seemingly simple as a pair of gloves, just how technically complex the construction can be, how many different options are available in terms of kind of even the design. And it's very easy to see how Lavabre Cadet is widely considered to be the greatest glove maker in the world. I mean, this level of commitment, not just to kind of the materials, but the craftsmanship, the construction, but even just the diversity of different options really is quite astounding.
Thank you very much, first of all, and it's really important also to remember that a glove maker does not exist per se. So it's a team of glove making people, because you need the strength of a man, of a cutter, to prepare the skin, and then the ability of a woman to stitch it perfectly, because it's so complicated. And actually it's a whole teamwork, and we are very lucky to have the best craftsmen in each position, and that's, I think, makes us quite special, because we have the best cutter, best sewer.
Now, here at the Hanger Project, we have a seasonal selection of Lavabre Cadet gloves, and we actually have had the privilege, really, and the opportunity to do kind of a made-to-order program with hand tracings that have allowed customers to access some of these really incredible custom options. So, Jean-Baptiste, someone that has the pleasure of being in Paris, how do they find Lavabre Cadet to really kind of experience this full bespoke glove experience?
So we are very lucky here at the Camille Fournet store, because it's near Rue Saint-Honoré and Place Vendôme, which is very in the center of Paris and very beautiful area. So you can come directly to the store to have a pair of ready-to-wear or made-to-order gloves. And if you want to go for the full service bespoke, it's better to contact us before, book an appointment, and I will be happy to take the measurements and talk with the person to see what he or she would like to order, and see how we can do it together.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Jean-Baptiste, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, visiting with you, and thank you for sharing with us so much of your knowledge about Lavabre Cadet.
Thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon.
Yeah. Cheers.